Namaskar, this is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We're tracking the aftermath of the Delhi blast. Was it a terror attack? Officials have stopped short of saying that, but it is being investigated like one. The Prime Minister has called it a conspiracy. The prime suspect is a doctor from Pulwama. Was he a suicide bomber? Or did he blow up the explosives accidentally? We are tracking the trail, and this may be part of a larger plot. In just 2 days, security agencies have uncovered 3 terror-related cases spanning 5 states. It shows a new worrying pattern, the rise of white-collar terrorism. People who are educated, connected, and radicalized. So tonight we ask, is education no longer enough to beat extremism? Also bringing you the global reactions. And while this remains our top focus, we are not losing sight of the other emergency in the Indian capital, and that is pollution. The air quality index has topped 700. Breathing is a luxury, and it seems agencies are trying to fix the data, not the air. From toxic air to toxic thinking, did women ruin the workplace? The New York Times is asking this. We'll tell you why the question is more revealing than the answer. Plus, Japan and China at loggerheads over the Japanese Prime Minister's remarks on Taiwan. We'll tell you what she said. Why Indian brands keep saying sorry, and the many lessons from Warren Buffett. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. In Pakistan, a suicide bombing kills at least 12 people in Islamabad. The assailant detonated explosives near a police vehicle. The Pakistani Taliban has claimed responsibility for it. This is the first such attack to have hit the capital city in years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Bhutan for a 2-day visit. He was received at the airport by his Bhutanese counterpart. Prime Minister Modi held talks with the king of the Himalayan nation. The two leaders also inaugurated a hydroelectric power project, which has been jointly developed by India and Bhutan. In India, the second and final phase of polling ends in the Bihar Assembly elections. The state recorded its highest ever voter turnout of over 67%. The voting took place amid heavy security. Bihar's international border with Nepal has been sealed. The results will be declared on Friday. Britain's unemployment rate soars to its highest level since 2021. It rose to 5% in the third quarter. This comes ahead of the Labour government's annual budget, which is set to raise taxes amid mounting debt and weak economic growth. And David Soloy wins the Booker Prize for his novel Flesh. The book tells the story of a working-class Hungarian. The British-Hungarian writer beat Indian novelist Kiran Desai, who was one of the favourites to win the prize. In 2006, Desai had won the award for her book, The Inheritance of Loss.
All those responsible will be brought to justice.
It's been a tense 24 hours in New Delhi, a deadly car explosion, a dozen deaths, and more questions than answers. If you live in Delhi, you have every right to be worried. Because yesterday, tragedy visited the heart of the city. A brutal, despicable tragedy. A car exploded near the Red Fort metro station. Around 7 p.m. local time, it simply blew up. Officials have identified the car since. They have leads on the people inside. They have filed an FIR. But as of now, there is no clarity on the motive. From all accounts, this was an attack, a daring, deadly attack in the heart of the national capital. The only question is by whom and why. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called it a conspiracy. He says the perpetrators won't be spared.
मैं कल रात भर इस घटना की जांच में जुटी सभी एजेंसियों के साथ सभी महत्वपूर्ण लोगों के साथ संपर्क में था, विचार विमर्श चलता था, जानकारियों के तार जोड़े जा रहे थे। हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
We'll get to the investigation in a bit, but first let's trace how this incident happened. At the center of the blast is a Hyundai i20 car. This vehicle has been spotted across the national capital region. At 7:30 a.m. yesterday, it was seen in Faridabad, that's a city in Haryana bordering Delhi. Around 45 minutes later, it was spotted entering Delhi. After that, there was a time gap. We next see the car near the Red Fort. At around 3:20 p.m., the I-20 enters the fort's parking area and it remains there for nearly 3 hours. At 6:22 p.m., the car exits the parking. 30 minutes later, it explodes near the metro station. So the timeline is pretty clear. The next question is, who was driving it? All the suspicion is on this man right now, a doctor from Pulwama named Umar Mohammed. The police believe that he was driving the car. Again, this is not confirmed. The investigators are turning to DNA to prove their theory. They're collecting samples from Umar's family in Pulwama. After that, they will match it with the samples at the blast site. If they match, their suspicion will be confirmed. Which raises another question. How did the car explode? The forensics team is trying to figure that out. Reports say their initial assessment reveals two key things. One, there is some evidence of a detonator. If so, this was not just a blast, it was a bomb. And two, they found traces of a highly flammable chemical. It's called ammonium nitrate. On its own, this chemical does not explode, but if you add some fuel oil, it becomes an explosive. And this is where the plot thickens, because guess where else the same chemical was found? At a terror module busted in Faridabad, a module that is reportedly linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed. We'll explain this link in detail later, but you see the connection here, the same explosive chemical, the same origin point of the car, so naturally there is speculation about terror. Like I said, this is not confirmed. As of now, the investigators have not revealed the motive. But they've filed a case under two laws. The first is the UAPA, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. It's usually invoked in terror cases, the UAPA. And secondly, the Explosives Act. As the name suggests, this punishes people who maliciously use explosives. So the fact is, there are many red flags, which is why the government is not taking any chances. Today, the Home Minister of India, Amit Shah, chaired two crucial meetings. He reviewed the security situation in the capital. Tomorrow, the Union Cabinet will also be meeting. Right now, the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi, is on a visit to Bhutan. So the Cabinet will convene once he's back tomorrow. Meanwhile, Delhi is hunkering down. Such attacks were common in the 1990s and the 2000s, but in the last 15 years, they have disappeared. Delhi benefited from extra security and intelligence work. Now that streak of peace is gone. So naturally, authorities are not taking chances. More police officers have been deployed at key junctions. More checks are being done at metro stations. More security is visible at government buildings. Like I said, the city is hunkering down. These next couple of days will be crucial to this case. There will be speculation, panic, and unfortunately fake news. But at the end of it, hopefully there is justice. So who was behind this attack? Was it a lone wolf attack, a planned terror strike, or something else entirely? At this stage, we cannot say for sure, but investigators are trying to piece together the clues, and so far they point towards one man, a doctor, someone who was radicalized, the man who drove that car into Old Delhi. His name was Dr. Umar Mohammed. He was a doctor from Pulwama in Jammu and Kashmir. Umar Mohammed was working in Faridabad. He was a lecturer at a medical college. So on first impressions, he had a normal life and a normal career. But investigators believe that behind that facade, Umar Mohammed had a different identity. He was part of a radicalized doctors' network, one that had links to the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Pakistani terrorist group. Delhi police has been tracking this network for months now. Just yesterday, they made arrests. They caught 2 members of this network. It was a multi-state operation, and they seized almost 3 tons of explosive material. The police arrested 2 doctors, Dr. Adil Ahmed Radar and Dr. Muzammil Shakil. They were believed to be Umar's close associates. Their arrest, officials believe, changed everything. Umar was in touch with his associates, Dr. Adil and Dr. Muzammil, before they were nabbed. He had a task at hand. That stockpile of 2,900 kilos of explosive, Umar was supposed to retrieve a part of that stockpile. But when the operation collapsed, he realized that the network had been exposed. Investigators believe Umar panicked after that. Sources say he may have been trying to relocate or dispose of the explosives that he had, and instead of running away, he drove straight into Delhi. He was seen entering the capital in a Hyundai i20 car, the same car that exploded later. Security cameras captured the car's movement. Umar parked the vehicle at around 3:20 p.m. yesterday, and for over 3 hours he stayed inside the car. He did not leave, he did not make a call, he just sat there waiting. And at around 6:52 p.m., the car exploded. Now, it is possible that the explosion was not premeditated. It may have been accidental. Remember, the vehicle was still moving when the bomb exploded. Forensic teams have found fragments of a human body. They believe those fragments belong to Umar Mohammed. DNA samples have been sent for testing, like we told you. Officials say that he was likely the bomber. Investigators believe Umar may have built the device himself, and he could have triggered the blast in panic. At this point, all of it is a subject of investigation. Investigators are reconstructing how Umar spent his last 48 hours, where he traveled from, who he met, and how he managed to smuggle the explosives into Delhi. Multiple agencies are working on this case. The key focus is on 2 questions. Who supplied Umar with the explosives, and was this part of a larger plan? If the DNA tests confirm Umar's identity, it will close one part of the investigation, but the network behind him still remains active. The arrest of 2 doctors, the seizure of nearly 3 tons of explosive material, and now a suicide blast in Delhi, all these pieces fit a pattern. They point to a deeper, coordinated structure. A structure that India's security forces must uncover and decimate. This was Delhi's first terror attack in 13 years. But this wasn't an isolated incident. In the last 48 hours, multiple cases have surfaced across India, all related to terrorism. They happen in different states. They involve different methods. But when you connect the dots, you see a disturbing pattern emerge. We've already told you about yesterday's raids and how the Red Fort blast may be linked to them. 2 doctors were arrested in the raids and nearly 3 tons of explosive material was seized. Again, this operation spanned multiple Indian states. Apart from the explosives, investigators also recovered deadly weapons like AK-47 guns, pistols and assault rifles. A resident of Lucknow was also arrested. Her name is Dr. Shaheen Shahid. She too was a doctor with links to the cell operating out of Faridabad. Reports say the police recovered an assault rifle from her. And while this raid and the blast in Delhi dominated the headlines, another operation was underway. This was in India's western state of Gujarat. Gujarat's anti-terror squad arrested 3 men. Among them was a doctor. He had a medical degree from China, and reports say that he was trying to make a chemical weapon. Now, this group, the one operating in Gujarat, was trying to make ricin. It's one of the deadliest poisons on earth. Ricin is made from castor beans. Even a tiny amount can be fatal. There is no known antidote. The treatment only focuses on keeping the victim alive and offering supportive care. Ricin is among the most restricted substances in the world. Its use, storage and transport are tightly controlled. Now, this group in Gujarat was trying to manufacture it. Where did they plan to use it? Apparently, they conducted a recce in 3 cities. Ahmedabad, the most populous city of Gujarat, Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh, one of the largest states of India, and Delhi, which is the national capital. These 3 cities were on their radar. When this group was caught, investigators found 3 pistols on them, also 30 cartridges and nearly 4 liters of castor oil. This group is said to have had links with the ISKP, the Islamic State Khorasan province. It's a regional offshoot of ISIS operating out of Afghanistan, ISKP. And how did these people in Gujarat get the weapons? Investigators say the weapons were delivered using drones. They were dropped across the Pakistan border at a secret pickup site. Now let's look at all the 3 events together. The blast in Delhi, the raids in Faridabad and Jammu and Kashmir, and the crackdown in Gujarat. Is there a connection? So far, no clear link has emerged, but there are similarities that are hard to miss. Each case involved doctors. Their credentials gave them cover. Each operation was spread over multiple states, from Kashmir to Faridabad, from Uttar Pradesh to Gujarat. This could have been a pan-India operation. The methods were sophisticated. Expertise to make chemical agents, drone-enabled arms drops, and industrial-grade explosives. This is not the old model of terrorism, where a single organization coordinated attacks from across the border. This is one professional, decentralized, and adaptive group with multiple cells. There are small terror cells involving just 3 to 7 people. They hide in plain sight. You can arrest one cell, you can neutralize the second one, but the third one can still strike because the threat is no longer coming from a single concentrated source. The threat is distributed. This is India's new security challenge, and it demands a new playbook. Do you know what stands out about these suspects? They're not helpless destitutes. They're not uneducated. In fact, they are the opposite. All 3 of the suspects are doctors. Look at the suspected bomber, Umar Mohammed. He worked at the Al Falah Medical College. It's a 24/7 facility with 378 beds. Quite an established medical institution. Umar's alleged co-conspirators were also doctors. Muzammil Shakil worked at the same Al Falah College, and Adil Ahmed worked at a private hospital in Uttar Pradesh. Turns out all 3 were linked to the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the JEM. The police say it's a white-collar terror network, and it's exactly what it sounds like. A white-collar worker performs knowledge-based work, like a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. Their skill set is not physical labor, it's their mental ability. But are such white-collar workers being radicalized? Well, here's what the police say. Our investigation revealed a white-collar terror ecosystem involving radicalized professionals and students in contact with foreign handlers operating from Pakistan and other countries. Funds were raised through professional and academic networks under the guise of social or charitable activity. Now, this is a big worry. A, because such workers are prized targets, and B, They cut at the root of a long-standing notion, the idea that education can prevent radicalization. You put someone in school, you give them a skill set, you give them a job, and the belief was that they would become model citizens, that they would steer clear of extremism. But look at these doctors. Despite their education, despite their jobs and status, they were radicalized by extremists. Secondly, such workers have a multiplier effect. Their position gives them a cover to operate in broad daylight. After all, who suspects a doctor? They can use their jobs to move money. They can use their intellect to radicalize people, and they can use their knowledge to carry out operations. For example, an engineer could build a deadly bomb. That's why white-collar workers are a prize. And we've seen examples before. In 2016, there was a similar module of doctors in Kerala. They had been radicalized by ISIS. And way back in 2007, another module was found in Britain. A group of mostly Asian doctors were plotting terror attacks. So white-collar extremism is not new. The question is, how do we tackle it? Does this mean education is irrelevant to radicalization? I'm afraid there is no simple answer. You will find literature and studies on both sides. Some say education does not prevent radicalization, that extremism is about ideology and politics. It's not about jobs or degrees. Look at someone like Osama bin Laden. He was an engineer, yet he became a terrorist. Same with his successor, Ayman al-Zawahiri. He was a trained doctor. He went from treating refugees to heading the Al-Qaeda. Others say there is a positive effect of learning. They say higher education levels prevent radicalization. In India's context, it is very important. We are tackling radicalization in Jammu and Kashmir, and New Delhi's strategy is built around this. More roads, more schools, more jobs, more hospitals. The goal is to deliver prosperity to Kashmir and, by extension, fight radicalism. But after what happened yesterday, should we rethink? The answer is no. Complicated studies aside, the logic is sound. Education creates well-rounded individuals. It gives them a fair shot at life. So we must continue using education to fight radicalization. At the same time, we must reinvent what we teach. We must teach the value of debate. We must teach the value of disagreement. And most importantly, the values of peace and justice. Of course, bad eggs will still exist. Some people will still slip through the cracks. And that's where we need a strong security apparatus to identify, track, and then punish such radicals. So as investigations continue into the Red Fort blast, the shock has reverberated worldwide. Condolences are flooding in. The United States, Russia, the UK and China have all issued statements. They are expressing sorrow and solidarity with India. In West Asia, Israel's message was stronger. It has pledged to stand with India in its fight against terrorism. India's neighbors have also responded swiftly. From Nepal to Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, messages of support have arrived. In Bhutan, prayers were held for the victims. This was during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit earlier today. Our next report has more.
The world has reacted strongly to the deadly car blast near Delhi's Red Fort. Condolences have poured in from leaders and governments across the globe. Several countries have also issued advisories for their citizens in India. The United States expressed sorrow over the explosion in New Delhi and offered condolences to the families who lost their loved ones. Washington also said it was closely monitoring the situation. It has offered consular assistance to New Delhi, while issuing a security alert and advising its citizens to avoid the Red Fort and Chandni Chowk areas. The United Kingdom and France also condoled the tragic incident. British High Commissioner Lindy Cameron said her thoughts were with all those affected by the blast. Like the US, the UK too issued a travel advisory asking citizens to follow local guidance. Meanwhile, France's ambassador to India said Paris stands with New Delhi and wished a full recovery to those injured. Australia's High Commissioner Philip Green also said his thoughts were with the families who lost their loved ones. On behalf of Moscow, Russia's ambassador said he was shocked by the explosion. He said he was confident that the investigation would determine the cause of the blast. From Beijing came a message of sympathy. China said its thoughts are with those affected and wished the injured a quick recovery. In West Asia, Israel's foreign minister pledged his country's support in what he called India's fight against terror. Iran voiced deep sorrow over the loss of lives. Egypt and Morocco also reached out with messages of support. From Latin America, Argentina's envoy conveyed his heartfelt grief to the victims' families. Across South Asia, neighbors rallied behind India. Bhutan's king led prayers for the victims in Thimphu.
We would like to take a moment and pray for the people who sadly lost their lives yesterday in Delhi. We'd like to pray for them.
Sri Lanka reaffirmed its solidarity. Nepal's Prime Minister Sushila Karki described the blast as tragic and shocking. The Maldives mourned with those who lost their loved ones. Bangladesh's High Commissioner said both nations share this moment of grief. Its former Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, called the attack an unforgivable crime against humanity. She pointed to groups rooted in Pakistan and backed India's counter-terrorism efforts. Japan and Malaysia also expressed their condolences. So, from every corner of the globe, the message has been the same. Nations have condemned the violence and backed India. While global support pours in, India is focused on finding answers to the Red Fort blast.
How do you solve a problem? Well, the first step is to acknowledge it. Do not downplay the problem, do not ignore it. Instead, accept the situation you're in. Unfortunately, Delhi is not doing that. I'm talking about our pollution problem. Let's look at the numbers first. At 4 a.m. today, Delhi's average air quality was 751. To put that in context, your ideal AQI, air quality index reading, should be under 100. That's the ideal. It was 751 this morning in Delhi. That's more than 7 times higher than normal. Yesterday, the highest was 531. The day before, it was 490. And before that, 602. These are hard, indisputable numbers. If you live in Delhi, it's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. In a month, that's 453 cigarettes. And this is not a localized problem. The AQI is bad across the national capital. Near Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, it's 435. Near ITO, it's 439. 447 near RK Puram, 452 near Chandni Chowk, 400 at the Delhi airport, 448 near Anand Vihar. I could go on, but you get the picture. It's all over the city. Wherever you go, the air is bad. Until now, the government was unwilling to accept this. They weren't fighting the pollution, they were fighting the numbers. Let me tell you what happened in October. Several air quality stations went blank all of a sudden. And the timing was suspect. These outages happened when the AQI was rising. As it neared 1,000, the stations went blank. By the time it came back online, the AQI had fallen again. Suspicious? Well, that's what experts say. If you want to calculate average AQI, you need the full picture. Any gaps in data will skew the average. And this is not the only problem. We've seen another worrying trend at pollution stations. They're spraying water near them. How does that help? Well, most of Delhi's pollution is from dust. If you spray water, you can suppress that dust, and no dust equals better readings. Again, this is inappropriate. Air quality must be measured without any distortion. Your fight is not with the numbers, your fight is with pollution, and Delhi has been late to realize that. Let me explain. The city has set protocols to fight air pollution. They're called GRAP measures, Graded Response Action Plans, GRAP. Graded Response Action Plans. You must implement these measures in stages. If the AQI is poor, then it's stage 1. This includes a ban on waste burning and dust control. If the AQI is very poor, you go to stage 2, a ban on diesel generators. Then comes come stages 3 and 4. If the AQI crosses 350, then stage 3 is supposed to be implemented. This includes shutting schools up to class 5 and hybrid classes for the rest. It also includes banning the entry of trucks into Delhi. These measures have finally been implemented today. The question is, why the delay? Delhi's AQI crossed 350 last week. But when was GRAP 3 implemented? Only today. This is valuable time lost. So tonight we have 2 pieces of advice for Delhi's leaders. Number 1, do not distort the data. It's like a patient lying about his cholesterol or blood sugar. It does not affect the doctor, it only hurts you, the patient. And number 2, forget the optics. We know that Delhi's pollution cannot be solved magically. That's not what the people are demanding or expecting. What they want is some action, some indication that the government is on the job, that they're not ignoring or deflecting. Yes, it will take time. Yes, there will be challenges, but that's not an excuse for not trying. We must begin by acknowledging that we have a huge problem. Only then can we address it. Some headlines make you pause, some make you sigh, but some make you wonder, is there something mixed with your morning coffee? Are you seeing it right? It makes you wonder if someone has lost a bet or if the printing press went absolutely rogue. Well, this was one such headline. It came out in the New York Times. It's an opinion piece. The first headline was, "Did women ruin the workplace?" Yes, that's the headline. Did women ruin the workplace? I'm not making that up. And if you're looking at your watch to check if we've gone back to the 1950s, do not. We are still very much in 2025, which is why there was quite the backlash on social media. People slammed the New York Times. They questioned this ridiculous article. So NYT did the easiest thing they could. They just changed the headline. It now says, "Did liberal feminism ruin the workplace?" But the contents of the article, well, they remain the same. And what does the piece say? Well, the crux of the conversation is quite simple. Liberal feminism is taking over workplaces. The so-called woke ideals are taking over. Movements like Me Too are changing the way we work. Essentially, women are ruining workplaces. That is the simple crux of it. And to that we say, our thoughts and prayers for all those affected. Because it's such a pain to attend workplace training that says, don't touch people without permission. It's so difficult to talk to people with empathy and kindness, to offer maternity leave and flexible schedules. It's truly a heroic suffering. And we know this is an opinion piece. It is the opinion of the writer, but here's the problem. NYT went ahead to publish this article. And a brief reminder while we are here. Women make up 40% of the global workforce. Over half of working-age women worldwide are part of the labor force. They now account for 29% of global C-suite leaders. It's up from 17% in a decade. That's progress, yes. But is it equality? Not yet. Women still earn less than men. Globally, women earn 52 cents for every dollar earned by men, 52 cents to $1. Women still carry the bulk of unpaid care work. Women are still penalized for motherhood. They end up missing out promotions and career opportunities. Meanwhile, men get congratulated for fatherhood. So let's be very clear. The workplace was not ruined. It wasn't inclusive to begin with. Women showed up. They asked for equality, accountability, and professional standards, and suddenly we are acting like civilization is collapsing. Well, for these people, I have a few articles. 1 in 3 Icelandic women has experienced sexual harassment at work. 1 in 3. But clearly, the problem was women entering the office, not the predators already there. Next, sexual harassment complaints in India, Inc. have risen by 79% in 5 years. It shows you how women really ruin workplaces, especially by refusing to suffer in silence. The Delhi High Court says even senior government posts do not protect women from workplace harassment. In the United States, women's complaints of workplace abuse get ignored more than men's. 34% of women in Hong Kong are harassed at work. Most of them do not report it. And yet, the question the New York Times ponders on is whether women are too powerful. Talk about comic timing. The New York Times says its motto is, all the news that's fit to print. Clearly, they took it too literally, because they decided to print this article. So to answer the initial question, did women ruin the workplace? The answer is a resounding no. The workplace is not worse because women are in it. It's better and still not good enough. Progress is messy. Evolution scares people who benefited from stagnation. So let me repeat, women did not ruin the workplace, but they're definitely changing it. And if that feels threatening to you, the problem is not women. The problem is that you were never expecting to share the room. Our next story is from East Asia. Japan and China are locked in a new war of words. It began with a statement in Tokyo and has now turned into a diplomatic standoff. The issue? What happens if China attacks Taiwan? Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, issued a warning. She said a Chinese attack on Taiwan could threaten Japan's survival. Those words marked a major shift in Tokyo's security stance. Past leaders in Japan avoided mentioning Taiwan directly, but Prime Minister Takaichi chose to spell it out. Beijing called her comments wrongful and dangerous. It lodged a strong protest with Tokyo. Then a Chinese diplomat posted a threat online. The message sparked outrage in Japan. Tokyo called it extremely inappropriate and demanded an explanation from Beijing. This exchange has heightened tensions and brought the Taiwan question back into focus. Here's a report.
A new diplomatic storm is brewing in East Asia. Japan and China are at odds with each other. The conflict is over what could happen if Beijing ever launches an attack on Taiwan. Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, was answering questions in Parliament. She was asked how Japan would respond to a potential Chinese attack on Taiwan. Her reply triggered an uproar. Takaichi said such an attack could amount to a survival-threatening situation for Japan. That phrase has legal force. It comes from a 2015 law that allows Japan to deploy its self-defense forces in limited cases of collective defense, even if the country itself is not directly attacked. Takaichi's remarks broke with the cautious language used by past Japanese leaders. Until now, most avoided mentioning Taiwan publicly in this context. Takaichi said Japan had to anticipate the worst-case scenario. The comments caused an immediate stir. Beijing sees Taiwan as its own territory and has not ruled out the use of force for reunification. Takaichi's remarks were viewed as Japan signaling its readiness to act in a potential Taiwan conflict. On November 8th, the dispute escalated online. China's consul general in Osaka posted a message on X. He wrote, and I quote, "The dirty neck that sticks itself in must be cut off." The post was later deleted but quickly drew outrage in Japan. By November 10th, the Japanese government had protested formally. The Japanese government said the remark was extremely inappropriate. Besides, the government also reaffirmed Japan's One China policy. It said peace in the Taiwan Strait is vital for international security. At the same time, China's foreign ministry called Takaichi's remarks wrongful and dangerous. It confirmed that formal protests had been lodged with Tokyo, and it accused Japan of sending wrong signals to Taiwan. Beijing even defended its diplomat's post, calling it a personal response. Meanwhile, Taiwan responded too. Its foreign ministry said China's wolf warrior diplomacy had crossed the line.
The wolf warrior diplomacy behaviors of Chinese diplomats is truly eye-opening and further highlights their reckless and domineering mindset.
Japan's ally, the U.S., too weighed in. Its ambassador to Tokyo called the post by the Chinese diplomat a threat. All of this comes just weeks after Takaichi took office as the prime minister. At the recently concluded APEC summit in South Korea, she met Chinese President Xi Jinping. This month, she also met a senior Taiwanese official. The meetings showed how Japan is trying to balance diplomacy and deterrence. Yet they also exposed just how thin that line has become. This latest dispute has also drawn attention to something deeper: geography. Because Taiwan sits roughly 100 kilometers from Japan's southern islands, it controls key sea lanes that supply Japan's energy and trade. Any potential Chinese blockade or attack could disrupt those routes. It could also test Japan's security alliance with the United States. The exchange may fade diplomatically over time, but it has exposed how even a single remark can test the limits of Japan-China relations.
If you opened Instagram last week, it looked like corporate India was going through a meltdown. Somber, white backgrounds, a polite corporate letterhead, and the same start to every message: "We sincerely apologize." Normally, if you saw that, you would pause. You would brace for a scandal. But then you read the fine print. "We apologize for being too good." That's what brands were saying, basically. No crisis, no mistake, just brands saying sorry for being awesome. Now, there was a time when apologies were sacred. You said sorry because something went wrong, unless you were British, in which case you only expressed regret, and that too if you were really pushed. But this trend has flipped that. It actually started in the Philippines last year. In India, it caught on last week, and the first one to hop on the trend was the car company Volkswagen India. They were the first to put out an apology letter, an apology for their cars being too good. Soon everyone followed, and by everyone, I mean everyone. Car companies apologize for making cars too good. Cement brands apologize for walls being too strong. Snack brands apologize for creating snacks that were too tasty. A chef apologized for delicious recipes. Even media houses apologized. You know what for? For upholding truth and integrity. As you can imagine, that did not land well. But forget FOMO. This was FOSO, fear of standing out by not apologizing. If your brand did not release a for regret letter, were you even doing marketing? And let's be honest, this was not about self-reflection. This was about survival in the short attention economy. You see a viral trend and you have to do it. And this one especially hits three magic buttons. One, companies think it makes them human. Translation, it makes them look like they have a personality. Second, it shows confidence in your product. And third, it rides a viral wave. The trend is already getting the eyeballs, so you hope to get some traction out of it. Of course, the first few apology ads were genius. You thought of an original concept. It was clever and unexpected. But then the floodgates opened. Every company followed the same pattern. Write a fake apology, pretend it's clever, hope social media claps, and blame the agency if it doesn't. Innovation used to mean something. Now it is the same thing again and again. Like that one office colleague who keeps repeating the same joke, each time louder, hoping it lands. And we don't blame the social media interns here. I know there's a lot of pressure to create the next viral moment. But here comes the problematic part. There will be a time when a brand actually needs to apologize, maybe over a faulty product, a data breach, or a problem with something. By turning remorse into a punchline, brands risk making accountability, real accountability, optional. And that's not just cringe, that's problematic. So to every brand in this apology Olympics, well done. Some of you gave us a smile, some of you made us hate trends, and some sparked a debate with their posts. But listen, we've heard you. We accept your apology. And now, with all due respect, stop apologizing. Next time, try something crazy. Make a great product, maybe. Tell a great story, or just be original. And to you, dear consumer, sorry for making you relive all those apology posts. Sorry for the scroll fatigue. Actually, we're not sorry, not even a little. Every year, American capitalism has a ritual. For Swifties, it's a surprise album drop. For Wall Street, it's the Warren Buffett letter. And this year, it hits different. Because after 6 decades at the helm, Warren Buffett is signing off. The Oracle of Omaha is stepping down. He will retire as the chief executive of Berkshire Hathaway. At 95, he says he's going quiet. And he's doing it with one letter. Now, it's hard to overstate the scale of the story. This is a man who built a $1 trillion empire. He's outcompeted hedge fund hotshots for 6 decades. He survived scandal, recessions, bubbles, and Bitcoin memes. But before the violent start, this is not a puff piece. Warren Buffett was not a flawless oracle. He missed tech for years. He bet on airlines repeatedly. He called himself dumb more than once, and he meant it. The legend is real. So are the mistakes. And that, maybe more than the billions, is the lesson here. So here are 5 lessons from his many letters in life. Lesson number 1, money compounds, but character compounds faster. You see, Warren Buffett obsessed over compound interest. He made Berkshire Hathaway what it is. But quietly, what he really preached was compounding character. And this is something he famously told executives: lose money and I will understand. Lose reputation and I will be ruthless. Reputation, trust, goodwill. Those, according to Buffett, were the real currency. That's not to say money is not important, but in the long run, it outperformed the market. Lesson number 2, be patient, like embarrassingly patient. Buffett famously believed that time was the ultimate ally. He held Coca-Cola for decades. He sat on cash when the world jumped at stocks. He shrugged at market hysteria. But here's the thing that he quietly taught. The long game applies outside markets too. You do not get rich overnight. You do not build trust overnight. You do not become wise overnight. But you can do all of it slowly, boringly, beautifully. Only if you show up, stay curious, and don't panic sell your principles at the first sign of volatility. Lesson number 3, simplicity beats sophistication. We live in a world where finance bros invented acronyms. Meme stocks are the new trend, but Buffett stuck to the boring rules. Understand the business, buy it cheap, hold it long, and do not overcomplicate what does not need complexity. There's beauty in that almost childlike clarity. Warren Buffett once joked that he only invests in businesses that a 5th grader can explain. He missed a few rockets, sure, but he also avoided a lot of craters. Lesson number 4, accept your mistakes and learn to move on. Warren Buffett made mistakes, spectacular ones sometimes, but he did not hide them. He did not bury them in the footnotes. He put them in letters like cautionary tales. Why? Because he was not in the business of perfection. He was in the business of learning. His motto was simple: you screw up, you will misjudge, you will do the wrong thing. Whether it is buying stocks or making life decisions, just don't double down on stupid. Don't pretend you're infallible. And most importantly, don't let shame paralyze evolution. According to Warren Buffett, it's never too late to get better, which brings us to the last lesson, and quite an important one in the times we live in: the importance of kindness. Your legacy is not just money. Of course, wealth is very important, but kindness matters too, and especially the impact you leave behind. In fact, I'll read out what he said in his last letter, a part of it. When you help someone in any of thousands of ways, you help the world. Kindness is costless, but also priceless. Keep in mind that that cleaning lady, as much as a human being, is as much as a human being as the chairman. I'm sure there are 100 more lessons. Warren Buffett's exit brings us to the end of an era. The Oracle of Omaha may be stepping back, but the lessons, well, those still keep earning. And now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. A Turkish military plane catches fire mid-air and crashes in Georgia. A video captures the terrifying moment a bridge was rattled by a super typhoon in the Philippines. And climate activists project the message to rich polluters in Brazil. We're also taking you back in history. On this day in 1918, the First World War came to an end. This was after the Allied forces and Germany signed an armistice agreement. The First World War killed nearly 22 million people, making it one of the deadliest conflicts in history. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
All those responsible